Okay, so I've shown you decreases, but I realize I haven't shown you increases. So let's do some increases. So to do an increase, there's a couple of different ways. One of the easiest ways is to do what's called yarn over. So you're knitting along and you want to add some stitches to make it increase. You literally just yarn over that needle. Let me see if I can get that a little better. So you just go from the back to the front, right? Go from the back to the front, and your yarn is sitting there. That's the new stitch that you've created. And then you just knit into the next stitch with that yarn still hanging out there. You knit that, and there's your little yarn over. And it sort of, it leans to the left there. You can sort of see how it leans. And it makes a giant hole. So when you purl back, the hole will still be there unless let's just pretend that I've knit all the way, to the next row. So when you're going to knit back, you'll see that's the yarn over, right? So pretend you're purling, you knit on the other side and now you're purling back. You could just, purl and just like it's kind of this big floppy thing, and you just purl it and it will leave a big hole like that. Or you could purl it, you could like, instead of knitting just that big thing, you could, well, it's very fiddly. This is why you need those pointy needles. And you could purl into this leg, or you could knit into that. It's much easier to knit into the back of the leg. So if you knit into the back there, it will pull all of that mess a little bit. You still get a hole though, but not as big as a hole. But anyway, so that's one way to do it. That's one way to do an increase. Then we just made a mess. So another increase that you could do is called, generally when you start reading patterns, it'll just say make one, and sometimes they won't explain, well, what do you mean by make one? So what that is you'll see, well, it's not a very good demonstration of it, but in between the stitches there's like this little bar, and you can pick up the bar that's in between the stitches and put it on the needle, and then you would just knit into that bar, and that increases one, and it doesn't make too much of a hole, and you can just keep going, and you're like, whatever, and do whatever on the purl side. So there's yarn over, there's lift the bar for make one, and then there's this one, which is called knit into the front and back. And what that means is you knit into the front of the stitch, but before you pull it off, you twist that around and you knit into the back of the stitch, creating another little stitch right there. Right? Do that again. That was kind of weird. So you knit like you regularly do, but instead of pulling it off, before you pull it off, you knit into the back of the stitch. Oh, we're twisting there. Into the back of the stitch, the back leg behind you. And it keeps wanting to do that other one. So like that. And then you knit that one too and pull them both off. So now we've just created a bunch of stitches, and you can see how right here, this little thing right there, that's like a little scarf for the stitch that you created. Just kind of chokes it off a little bit, and so it's not, it's a little tight. It's not, you don't get the loose floppy things like you do with a yarn over. So those are 3 ways that you can increase your stitches if you want to shape something, make it get bigger. Is a yarn over, lift up the bar in between the stitches, or knit into the front and back. And you'll just have to keep rewinding that over and over again to see that one.